Hello friends, it's way too hot in my room and I don't have an air conditioner here, bringing you another Dota 2 video on behalf of Dota Alchemy. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the 7.22c gameplay update that was just released and doing a bit of an analysis. So, first and foremost, Ring of Basilius buff, bonus damage 7 to 8. This is great. I'm an offlaner. I love this. This builds into Vlad's. I think this is probably trying to make it more of an early game item than something like a Bracer, Wraithband, to compete with those items. So this is fantastic. Hero changes, Axe, base movement speed increased by 10. I know a lot of people are running around an Axe with like phase boots, going support Axe, and just battle hungering people and maxing that out. So this definitely makes that better because battle hunger scales, it's a percentage based off your base movement speed. So this is definitely a great buff to Axe. Batrider, Flaming Lasso cooldown to 80 seconds at max level instead of 60 seconds. This does hurt him quite a bit because in the late game, this 60-second cooldown is pretty important. This hero is all about the lasso in the late game and the vision that he provides. So being able to do that less is a bit of a pain. Bloodseeker, base armor increased by 1. I thought this hero was already pretty good in this patch, a little bit underrated. So this base armor is going to make him a little bit better against these counters in the laning stage that just kind of bully him down and abuse the fact that his armor is low. Bristleback, base damage increased by 3. Another minor buff to Bristle. This hero is probably going to be unreal pretty soon, especially with the previous buffs to him in the last patch. They really want people to pick Bristle. I remember he actually got the base damage nerfed at one point when he was good, so this is kind of putting him back to his former glory. Chaos Knight, Chaos Bolt mana cost reduced. This is a pretty big change to him because you would leave this at low level and max the crit as an offlaner, so having it cost less mana is pretty significant, and people can now kind of run around as a support and use the low mana cost too. I know people were doing that before, so this pushes that kind of playstyle a little bit more. Chen. This hero definitely needs a lot of nerfs. So Divine Favor no longer provides damage. That is interesting. So what did they replace it with? They gave it the recall ability on a 60-second cooldown, which, in my opinion, I think that's a big nerf. I'm pretty sure it was attached to Holy Persuasion, right? Which is a 15-second cooldown. So this is a big nerf to the recall. It's really weird that they kind of just gave Chen that ability, part of his other ability, but I don't know. So they made it a lot worse, basically. Divine Favor, HP regen has been increased a little bit. Now it's really good at level 1, but you don't have the damage. And the damage is now attached to Holy Persuasion, so it just goes on the creep. So that's still pretty good for the early to mid-game, but Chen's less of like a stand there and just win a lane sort of hero. Still gives HP regen, but the damage was a pretty big deal for trading. And then Penitent's mana cost increase. I don't think that matters a lot because this hero never really had mana issues. He's got really good mana pool to work with. Level 10 talent, 35% XP gain, reduced. That's good. I found that Chen Core was getting like way too many levels farming with creeps. And just standing around in fights and getting kills. Level 15 talent, Divine Favor damage, because that no longer provides damage, to Holy Persuasion damage. I think that talent kind of sucks, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll see some like mass split push creep army thing going on. 15 talent to negative 30-second Divine Favor cooldown. So still, even if you get this talent, it makes it half of what it was before, which is quite a big nerf. Clinkz, level 10 talent, agility instead of armor. Strength instead of magic resist, which he desperately needs strength, so I think this is great. Level 15 talent is negative 30-second Burning Army cooldown, which is fantastic because this hero is all about the Burning Army, winning fights in the mid game, and also going for pickoffs with that Burning Army. So being able to do that much quicker is better, much more frequently is definitely better. Level 25 talent from 3-second strafe to 4 seconds. That's pretty annoying, but I don't know. Level 25 talents don't matter all that much, especially this one on Clinkz. Clockwerk, Battery Assault cooldown has been reduced. Wow, that's a pretty big buff to him. And if you look at Dota 2 Pro Tracker, this hero's sitting at like a 56% win rate or something like that. So definitely going to be a very strong hero. I don't think as an offlaner, but as a roamer, he's a great hero, especially because this Battery Assault has no cast time now. Darkseer Surge has been reduced, even at max level, which, I mean, it's probably too much in the first place. The early levels sucked before, and the 20 talent Iron Shell damage has been reduced. So a little bit of nerfs to Darkseer, but not, in my opinion, to what is, core to what makes a hero strong. Dark Willow, base attack speed has been increased because people on Reddit were complaining about Dark Willow being nerfed. Shadow Realm, max damage duration reduced from 4 to 3.5 seconds. So I'm not sure if that means the ramp up, or I think that means you only have it for 3.5 seconds. If the ramp up was reduced, I'd be surprised because they increased the ramp up in the last patch from 3 to 4. So Dazzle, Bad Juju, cooldown reduction increased in the early levels. That's pretty cool. I think this hero was a pretty strong core before, and this would be pretty nice as an offlaner to have the CDR in the early levels. And then 30% XP gain. Wow, that is really important. Nobody was going to 200 health really, and the damage is really good as a core dazzle. But the 35% XP gain. Let's see what are his other. He doesn't really have that great of talents, to be honest. So I don't know. Not super important. Not super important. Dragon Knight. Base intelligence increased a little bit because people did not pick this hero in ESL. Level 10 talent, 30% reduction instead of 25. Kind of boring. Nobody really goes that talent anyway. 15 talent, 350 L to 400 health. Slight buffs. That's pretty nice. Elder Titan absolutely sucked in the early game, so they buffed him a little bit in the early game. So he's better against kind of tri-lanes sort of thing, but they nerfed the creep damage a lot. They made it much worse in the earlier levels. So the whole stacking thing is not really a thing anymore. Well, it still is. You still do that. It's just he sucks. So kind of one of the worst heroes in the game right now, I think, unless you're really good at team fighting with it. But Enchantress, Impetus range has been increased. Nice. That is awesome. I had no idea that the attack range was higher than the Impetus range. Today I learned, but this is great. Makes a hero stronger. Does way more damage. Enchant cooldown reduced. Holy shit. I thought this hero was viable before. I'm a huge fan of Enchantress. I think Enchantress is going to be broken. Enigma, intelligence gain reduced a little bit. Doesn't really hurt the hero and what is core to why he's strong. Faceless Void, Chronosphere radius increased. Holy shit, radius. Radius is always a big deal because, you increase the radius and the area just like exponentially increases. Well, not exponentially, but you get what I'm saying. Time lock. The chance has been increased to almost its former glory. I believe it scaled up to 25% before, so pretty nice. This hero definitely, people think it's bad, and I kind of disagree. I think Void is okay territory, but with these buffs, maybe he's good. Huskar Light Break slow increased. That means you can probably leave that at level 1, to be honest, which is great. So you can level the other abilities. So Huskar, okay. Invoker, base armor increased by 1, literally unkillable. Io, attack range reduced. Base armor increased. Strength gain increased. Tether regen is now higher in the early levels. Tether cancel now has a 0.25 second cooldown to prevent accidental uses. Spirit's no longer slow. Oh, okay. That's why they buffed this other stuff. Attack range doesn't really matter. Spirit's no longer slow. Okay, so level 10 talent, but now you can make it so they do slow. And now you don't get that ridiculous XP gain into Tether Grant Scepter bonus, so still a good hero. Still a good hero. Still a really, really good hero. I'd be very concerned if I was Valve and giving Io any buffs. So I still feel like this hero is like the best hero in Dota. Keeper of the Light. Will-O-Wisp. Radius increased. Cool. Once again, increase the radius on something and the area increases by a lot. Lich base int, so he's hitting a little bit harder in the laning stage. Sinister Gaze. Cooldown reduced, which is great. This ability is it's like the Rubik Lift. It just for some reason has a long cooldown. Chain Frost damage increased. This thing always gets increased. I still think Lich is probably not great. I mean, 25 talent doesn't matter. But he definitely needs some minor touch-ups before he's even pickable. He's one of the shittiest heroes in the game. Luna, a little bit of a base health regen increase, buff to Yapsor. Medusa, strength gain increased. Wow, I did not expect that. I think Medusa is still relatively strong, even though people did kind of stop picking it, but there's still a lot of people in the high-rated games that are picking it. Mirana, base mana regen, Starstorm cast point reduced. Still think this hero is just weak. They're going to need to add damage to her abilities or add some sort of mechanic to her abilities before she becomes strong again, or make her some ridiculous carry like she used to be. Morphling, waveform. Cooldown has been increased in the early levels, so he's a little bit easier to kill, thank God. Mana cost has been increased, so it's no longer just this nice 1-point wonder where it's super cheap at level 1. It's 10 more, which is great. Necrophos, health regen, buffed at the early levels, so you can get less points in it. Heartstopper, mana regen, also buffed in the early levels, so they're trying to bring Necrophos back, even though they just nerfed it. Nyx Assassin, base health regen reduced, and the spiked carapace duration has been reduced. Feels like this stuns forever, man. This guy just chain stuns you like crazy, so still think the hero's pretty good, but that's a big nerf to him because he's really difficult to deal with because you just can't trade with him as any support. He can contest you pulling, and you can't trade with him just because he has these ridiculous stats. Phantom Lancer, juxtapose illusion damage, increased. Little buff to him. And then the evasion has been buffed to 20%. Wow. That's pretty good. Wasn't that 10% before? I'm not sure, but that actually seems like a good talent to go. 20% evasion for a level 10 talent, man. It's kind of nuts. Phoenix, Fire Spirits, no longer has a micro cast point interruption. I have no idea what that means. No idea what that means. Icarus Dive. Not even going to try to figure it out. Icarus Dive. Cooldown reduced to 30 seconds. So it's a slight buff. It's a slight buff. This hero, I know one of the biggest complaints people have about this hero, like Phoenix players, is that the cooldowns are really long. So it's good to get this finally changed. Pluck, a little bit of base regen, which is great because the hero is fantastic at trading in the laning stage. Dream Coil talent no longer requires enemies to be in the attack range as Pluck, as long as Pluck is within 200 range of the edge of the circle. So that makes that a little bit better. And then the interval has been reduced. So attacks a little bit slower. People don't go that talent, and I still don't see them going for that with this change. Level 10 talent, more stats, more cast range. Fantastic. People go the cast range usually. Sand King, strength gain, reduced. Way too tanky. Sandstorm, mana cost, increased. Still a good hero. Still probably the best offlaner. You just maybe go mana boots now. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Soul Ring. Shadow Shaman, base attack speed, reduced. Still really strong because he kind of like hits, moves, you know. He like trades with you from trees and uses spells, so that's not a huge nerf to him. If he was just sitting there trading with you constantly, it would be a nerf. But I don't see that being a huge problem. So Concussive Shot. Wow, level 1 Concussive Shot does a pretty good amount of damage. 100. That's really nice for 80 mana. That's great. 30% XP gain. Holy shit. This is great because this hero scales to be a core. And his talents are absolutely ridiculous. Every single talent. Every talent that he has past level 15 is ridiculous. So this is a huge buff to Skywrath Mage in my opinion. Sword Art, base HP regen increased. There's like 3 offlaners people are picking right now, so I understand why they're just buffing offlaners. Sven, Stormhammer, stun duration reduced, so it's very mediocre at level 1, and the Warcry mana cost has been increased. People don't even go for the mana regen talent on this hero because he just has no mana cost, so this makes a lot of sense to me. Terrorblade strength gain has been increased, which is not surprising because ever since they made it so that he doesn't make illusions of illusions, the hero is just hard countered by like Nagas and PLs, so that's, you know, much needed buff to him. Timbersaw base strength increased by 2. This might be the worst hero in Dota. I'm not sure. Base mana regen increased to 0.25, which is great because he has low mana cost in the early level, and this is in the early levels. It's actually kind of enough to sustain him. Well, I'm not going to say 0.25 is enough, but any buffs to this is going to be pretty nice. Tinker, March of the Machines, mana cost has been reduced, which is in the early level, which is excellent for the laning stage. You can definitely benefit from this in the laning stage. Use this like early points to stack. I know people go for like a 2-2-2 build, so having actually it's just in the early level. This kind of, I wish they changed it in level 2 because the level 2 point is really important on Tinker, but you can still use the level 1 to stack at least, something like that. Talents, level 15 talent changed to 150 gold per minute on Tinker. That seems very strange. That seems very, very strange on a hero that farms very quickly. I'm not sure what to make of that. That could be kind of nuts. That could be kind of nuts. 150 gold per minute at 15 is a lot. And then spell lifesteal to 15% and 2 extra March of the Machines damage. The gold per minute change really, that one tickles my fancy. I'm interested in seeing how that works out. That could be insane. That could also be completely useless. Treant Protector base armor increased by 1, which is great because the hero trades extremely effectively, and Overgrowth was just straight buffed at all levels, 0.25. Nice. I think this hero's underrated. I think he's very good. Troll nerfed. Whirling Axes sucks. Not really. 25 less damage. So I'm honestly sick of this hero being able to just, you know, spam out 225 damage for 50 mana. So this is a good nerf. Tusk movement speed increased. He's getting picked up occasionally by Tusk players, but not really in general, so this is good. Underlord, this hero's probably decent, but people just have not picked. I just had an Underlord mid. He was absolutely feeding, and it felt useless. He was doing good stuff. It just felt useless. So these are good buffs. This hero just doesn't feel fast enough for how Dota is right now. Undying fixed a bug with the Tombstone attack talent that was just on Reddit. Fixed Soul Rip not healing Tombstone for the intended amount, so this hero just was shittier for bug reasons. Soul Rip max unit count reduced, and the heal was increased. So better when you're surrounded by less stuff, which is fantastic. Vengeful Spirit, magic missile, cooldown reduced. I mean, you know, spam that out a little bit more. I feel like this hero has such mana issues for spamming out magic missile. It's like, oh great, I can waste my... It's like Pudge getting a cooldown reduction on the hook. I would take that in the early game. I mean, it's just such a long cooldown. But in any case, it's like, do you really have the mana to see... You put 2 of these on somebody, and you're just out of mana in the laning stage. It's awful. Warlock, Fatal Bonds, reduced. Good. This hero is probably the best support in Dota right now. And even with these changes, he still is. And Weaver, Geminate attack damage increased. I like it. I like it. I don't think this is enough to buff Weaver and put him over the edge, but, you know, we're getting there with Weaver. We're getting there. So anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.